What's up, world? Let me tell you about this beard growth oil I got from 12 tribes on Earth. 8 ounces of oily goodness with a nozzle that prevents sprays and spills, and soft ingredients that make it perfect addition to anyone's morning routine. From coconut to castor, all these oils are hand chosen. After using this herbal blend, the biggest thing I noticed is how soft, how strong my hair was, and how good I feel. Pick up your bottle today and make your beard the star of the show.
Shalom, family. Good to see you all here. Hope you're doing well. Well, for a long time, we keep hearing this quote that immigrants do work that Americans don't do. Now, that has turned into Americans don't want to work. And that's not true. Americans don't want to work for crumbs. And I notice all of the ones that say this, you notice they don't tell you the hourly rate that they're making because it's not good. Yeah, you are over here working pennies on the dollar. Very few of y'all are making top dollar. The average immigrant is just not rolling in money like that. You're not. And it's amazing how, and y'all know where I'm going with this, with that chef Creole guy. I can look at him and tell he ain't paying nobody nothing. And folks ain't gonna struggle in some kitchen all day over some hot stove, and on top of all that, you trying to pay them some chump money. Honey, inflation out here, people can't afford to be underpaid. They can't afford it, especially if they got a family to take care of and bills to take care of. You can't afford that. That is unaffordable. And these folks, unfortunately, many of these immigrants will come over here and work for practically anything. In fact, they will undercut you to get a job. So if a job pays, let's say, 30 an hour, the immigrant will sit there and tell the hiring HR person that they'll do it for $10. And that's how they'll get a leg up over an American. So, in my opinion, if you have a brick and mortar business out here, you should be paying living wages. Anything below that should not even be allowed. And I'm serious, it should not be allowed. Nobody should be paying no $7 an hour for minimum wage. That is an insult. And look at everything so overpriced out here in the economy. And y'all, it's going to get bad. I don't know if any of you were paying attention to the statement that Iran put out today, and I'm going to be talking about this tomorrow. Iran said they are not even going to try to talk to Donald Trump anymore. They're going to wait out Donald Trump's term to be over, and the next incoming president, they will talk to that president. They are not going to try to talk to Donald Trump. And they're also threatening to keep the Strait of Hormuz closed until 2029. There's not going to be a place on this earth that won't be impacted by that. So many countries go in there for oil, and look, they're already running out of there. Many of them are out of gas. They got the out of gas signs all over the place. It's about to go tenfold. So, yeah, they said they're not full. And Donald Trump has been all in the news talking about they're getting ready to sign a deal electronically. Iran said no such thing is happening. They have made no deal with Donald Trump. So Donald Trump is up to his usual BS out here in the media trying to make everybody believe that, oh, we came up with a plan and they're saying no. Mm-mm. So if the Straits of Hormuz is closed until 2029, y'all, this place ain't gonna make it. This place ain't gonna make, and I'm not talking about just America. I'm talking about the darn globe. It's not gonna make it. So we shall see what happens, but they seem to be like pushing Donald Trump away. They said it's a waste of time dealing with Donald Trump. That's what the Iranians are saying. So if that's true, yeah, you darn right this place is gone. There's no way this place can make it from 2026 to 2029 without countries getting their gas and oil and fertilizer. You know, they get a lot of different things in the Strait of Hormuz, including fertilizer. Yeah, definitely done. So, y'all, let me go ahead and share my screen so we can get started. Okay, please give me a one if you can see my screen. Thank you. And L. Brow, thank you for the 10 joules. Floating Heart, thank you so much for your support for my channel. Thank you.
Been gone. Ask me how many Americans are tearing my door down looking for a job. My biggest issue in this industry is the Americans just don't want to work.
It's not that Americans don't want to work. They don't want to work for the fucking pennies you're willing to pay them. See, Americans are starting to realize their true worth. We don't want to do all the work while watching you get rich off of our labor. Some of these business owners do not see undocumented workers as people. They see them as cheap labor. They know immigration status can make a worker afraid to complain. So they use that fear to pay them less. These employers know exactly what they are doing when they hire someone with limited options and offer them wages that they would never offer someone with more bargaining power. Their immigration status becomes leverage in the hands of an unethical employer.
He is absolutely right about that. And it's not just him as an immigrant with a business. Many people won't even go out to these farms and work either because they know these migrant workers, they don't get nothing. They don't get nothing. And look, y'all, they're right now, they are building housing at the farm for these migrant workers, and they intend on cutting their salaries even more because they're providing housing for them. So yeah, you get heavily exploited. It seems like the lower the wage, the more exploitation goes on these jobs. And so it's not just him as a foreigner with a business, it's anybody that's paying ridiculously low wages that people can't make it on. So he would get the same thing if he was a farmer. But yeah, it's modern day slavery. It most certainly, yeah, it is. And see, you notice he didn't say what he pays for those jobs, because it ain't nothing. That's why he ain't telling you. He's not telling you because he ain't paying those workers a damn thing down there in Florida where his business is located.
If your business only survives because you can underpay vulnerable people, maybe your business model is the problem.
It's being reported that 40% of American adults are not working right now. Now, within this 40%, that may include retired people, students that choose not to work, caregivers that work at home, anybody that for any reason may not be in the workforce. I say that to give clarity, but I don't think this erases the direness of where we are at this moment. Nearly 4 in every 10 adults is without work right now. Something tells me that many of those without work right now are not choosing to be unemployed. There's simply no work to be hired for. Jobs are more likely to put open an application for your data and to take the ideas you put in the application than they are to hire you for the position. Internal selection is at an all-time high. Sometimes it can feel like the interviewing process for certain jobs are a humiliation ritual. And according to the US Bureau of Labor Statistics, around 9 million people were laid off in just the first 5 months of 2026 alone. When layoffs happen, workers that still have jobs are even more exploited because the work is still there and the labor force is diminished. If this doesn't tell you anything now more than ever, go after your passion because eventually there will be no jobs to get. The only job you'll have now is the one you create for yourself.
What about the argument that ultimately these jobs could have been held by those who are American?
Ha! It's a joke. I got 4 people that's been gone. Ask me how many Americans are tearing my door down looking for a job. My biggest issue in this industry is the Americans just don't want to work. They don't, especially the service industry. If that was the case, why would I be in terror in my mind and so pessimistic about opening more businesses when all of this is coming to light? There ain't no long lines with Americans saying, I want to come work at Chef Creole. There isn't. And I can tell you that other businessmen will echo the same thing. Everyone is saying the same thing. There's no Americans that want to work. They just don't. And I can see why.
Don't do that. Don't do that. You know, it pisses me off when people use the argument that Americans don't want to work. Now, there may be Americans who don't want to work at Chef Creole, but by and large, most Americans will work any job. They just won't work for peanuts like these other people will. So don't ever use the argument that Americans don't want to work, because that's just not true.
That ultimately these jobs could have been held by those who are American.
Ha! It's a joke. I got 4 people that's been gone. Ask me how many Americans are tearing my door down looking for a job. My biggest issue in this industry is the Americans just don't want to work. They don't, especially the service industry. If that was the case, why would I be in terror in my mind and so pessimistic about opening more businesses when all of this is coming to light?
Let's cut the bullshit. It's not that Americans don't want to work. It's not that Americans are lazy. Americans cannot afford the bullshit ass wages that you were paying whoever just got deported. Those people that just got deported can afford, because they're probably living with 15, 20 different people in a single family home or a single apartment or 1 or 2 bedroom home, you know, all living in one space, so they can afford whatever bullshit wages that you're paying. The average American citizen does not live like that and cannot afford to live like that. So nobody is going to be wrapped around the corner desperately trying to get into your place of employment, honey. It does not work like this here. This is not a third world country. And if that's what you're used to, then you have a place that you can go where people will be desperate enough to sign up for your bullshit ass wages. But Americans are not going to be able to do that because there's a certain standard of living that we have here, sir. See, a lot of y'all equate standards and not being desperate to being lazy, to not wanting to work. And that's just not the case here. It's just different here, sir.
Ask me how many Americans are tearing my door down looking for a job. My biggest issue in this industry is the Americans just don't want to work. They don't, especially the service industry. If that was the case, why would I be in terror in my mind and so pessimistic about opening more businesses when all of this is coming to light? There ain't no long lines with Americans saying, I want to come work at Chef Creole. There isn't. And I could tell you
how the immigrant population sounds. I'm a better slave. No, I'm a better slave. No, I'm a better slave. No, I'm a better slave. I'll work for $1. I'll work for a penny. I'm a better slave. I'm a better slave. I'm a better slave. I'll work for 50 cents. I'll work for $1. I'll work for $2. I'll work for $3. Oh, child, what? I have to have a master's degree and only make $30,000. I'll do it because I'm a hard worker and I'm the best slave America can have.
Oh, Americans don't want to do the job of the illegal immigrant. Bullshit. Let's just get rid of that vague generalization right now, because in construction in the state of Florida, where I am, there's plenty of skilled labor doing these jobs every day. The difference is contractors like me are competing with the contractors that hire illegals and pay them cash, either by way of illegal subcontracting and subsequent cash payments from that corporation, or they're paying them as a piece worker, again, by cash, without any taxes, without any labor laws. They're not paying minimum wage. They're not paying overtime. That's all bullshit that we don't want to do the work. We're doing the work every day. Now, farmers, I can tell you this. I'm not a farmer. I don't own a farm, but I can tell you this. There's machines that pick strawberries. And these contractors, these farming contractors that are picking strawberries using illegal immigrants, they're doing it because it saves a ton of money for them and puts it in their pocket instead of buying the $1 million John Deere tractor that picks and sorts and packages. It's all bullshit that we don't want to do the work. We're doing the work. There's just scumbags out there exploiting illegal immigrants and taking advantage of lurking in the shadows and living under the table. It's bullshit.
Hardest workers in our country absolutely do not get paid the most money. It is very hard to, work in a nursing home, to be a farmer. Teaching is incredibly hard. Construction work, janitors, like all of these jobs that these people are actually working very hard, they are not making a livable wage. They're barely making enough money. Never enough money to really get ahead. And I can guarantee you that CEOs and business owners are not working any harder than these people. And that's because the United States has switched from a wage economy to an asset economy. So in the United States right now, if you want to have any sort of wealth, you must own assets. You must own investments. You must own real estate. You must own a business in order to be able to grow your wealth. You were never going to work a wage job and work yourself to wealth without being able to own assets as well. That is why the wage gap has continued to grow so much. It's because of the assets that the top 1% own. They are earning money through interest and growth. And it is something that the majority of people do not have access to. And so when these wages do not keep up with inflation and the cost of living, then the people who are working for wages, their quality of life is continuing to decline. And that is what is making work not worth it anymore. And this is going to end up being a huge problem in the future as more and more people continue to check out of work culture and are starting to value their time again.
Do you ever genuinely ask yourself, what is the point of working anymore? We're selling all of our time for money that we can't even keep. It's like we do this our entire lives. We're selling our souls to Satan, it feels like, and we're getting nowhere. There are people out here working 2 jobs, and I just can't comprehend how anybody is even able to afford life right now when the wages are so low and the cost of living is so high. It just totally defeats the purpose. We deserve so much better as human beings. We actually deserve to enjoy our time here and have a good human experience. But it literally feels like we as a society chose to live in the worst way possible. And my soul is screaming out for more. I feel like this is something that I like can't settle for my entire life. And I genuinely can't comprehend. I can't wrap around my head how people are able to do this for 60 years of their lives. Then I almost kind of feel like this shit's not even real. That maybe we don't actually have to do this. That maybe we can win our time back somehow and enjoy our lives. It's like, why am I going to sell my soul at a job and get so little in return and just watch my life go to waste? My time is a lot more valuable than money. And I'm at a point right now where I just want to win my life back. I want to be happy while I'm here. I don't want to suffer in the name of capitalism anymore. And I honestly wish everybody felt the same way that I do.
It's almost more efficient at this point to cut your hours back to just working part-time, just like to cover the very basics, and, spend the rest of your time growing your own food and building your own shit and taking care of yourself. Like, that is what people are starting to realize. That is why there is a huge growth in homesteading. There's more gig work. There's more, online, I obviously do YouTube. There's more jobs like that. More people are checking out of the actual 9 to 5 and figuring out different ways to make money in order to
Okay, y'all. So, at the end of the day, I know these folks have made up all kinds of stereotypes of y'all don't want to work. My dad was a United Auto Worker for 32 years, and he worked his butt off every day. He was a forklift operator, okay, and did that for 32 years. And people in my family are teachers, lawyers. Some are professors at college universities. And I have never seen them be lazy. I've seen them get up and work hard until they were able to retire. And see, the people that run around saying that, you're just repeating what the white man says. And you don't even know the history behind that. There's an actual history behind that lazy trope. When the slaves were set free and they were going to get jobs, and many of it was labor and domestic work back then, because that's the only work they would allow our people to have. They were called lazy because they wanted to get paid for their labor. That's where that comes from. And y'all come here, you immigrants come here. The problem is you don't even bother to learn where that stuff comes from. I haven't seen all these lazy people you keep talking about. I have not seen them. And you know what? You haven't seen them either. You're full of shit. So, y'all, I want to thank Pensy Lola. Yah bless. Thank you for the 10 jewels gold coin. Thank you so much. And Mama Bear Judah, thank you so much for the 2 jewels silver star. Thank you for your support for my channel. I deeply appreciate it. There is no one in this country that works harder than us. Okay? We have $2 trillion in spending power. So please explain to me how you get $2 trillion of consumer money from our community alone, and people are lazy. There's no way we would have that if we were lazy. Some of y'all couldn't put 2 and 2 together if your life depended on it. And for that reason, because you run around here talking about we're lazy, I'm glad your ass is getting deported. You need to get the hell up on out of here and go home and fix your damn country. That's what you should be focusing on. So, y'all, I'm going to go ahead and conclude. Thank you so much for being here at 7:45. I have one more live, and that's Chud the Builder has bond out of jail, and we're going to talk a little more about that at 7:45. I will see you then. Shalom, family.